The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
630 KHW. Now, before we go to Dr. Corsi to talk about the lawsuit that's now taking the president's Social Security number into court, as now we start to read these emails to people, I just want to send them to me, I'll read them to you, with the exception of words that you can't read. And this is probably, when I got off the radio show yesterday, and we were talking about this craziness of the president's Social Security number, and we're going to talk with Dr. Jerry Quarry here in a minute, I got this phone call, and I thought about it for a while. I said, you know what? Let's put that on the air. First of all, president's father, and again, as people say, if it's his biological father, went to Harvard. Didn't go to Yale, went to Harvard. He says, I never met my father. In other words, he said, I only met him once. Now, contact would be if Sheik and I are talking by email. This didn't happen. Also, this is about that SSN number that this is apparently raised this guy's anger yesterday. But as the mystery of Barack Obama continues, the man, and we'll talk about it with Dr. Corsi, has a Social Security number issued in Connecticut. When he is 16, 17 years of age, he's working in a Baskin-Robbins, according to his autobiography, and there's no record of him being in Connecticut, his father being at Yale, and in fact, in 76, 77, senior is in Kenya. I don't get it, but I'd like you to hear the call, then we'll go to Dr. This is the kind of stuff we get. This is the caller yesterday when we finished the radio show. Sheik?
Peter Balls, is amazing that you could, I can understand how you became the way you are, because after you hearing the story about racist, prejudiced family, I can see why you guys are the way you are. Could it be that Barack Obama Sr., while he was at Yale University, applied for the Social Security card for his son? Could that be the reason why Barack Obama got a Connecticut Social Security number? Because his father was at Yale? Just because his father, Barack Obama, said he hadn't seen his father, that don't mean that he did not have any contact with his father, Peter. Peter, to me, you've been better off if you had not had contact with the KKK. That's apparently who your daddy was. You've been better off if your daddy had just took his racist ass and left your family. And then that way you and the rest of those dog lickers would be better off. That cat that you got, it raises his tail and it sprays his scent all through the house. And maybe that cat is spraying too much of his pheromones into your face while you sleep at night. Stop licking on that cat and stop licking on that dog, and maybe you'll get some brains back in your head. You trying to dirty up the entire Barack Obama family because you're prejudiced because his mother had a baby with a black man, and that's the main reason why you are doing this. Maybe you would have been better off, like I said, if you and the entire Peter Ball family had not lived in a racist state like Pennsylvania and in the area that you live in. You're trying to dirty up that man's entire family, talking about his grandmother, when it took some deceased person's Social Security number. Social Security would be all over that, Peter. So stop creating all these doggone conspiracy theories. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a white boy with a job because white boys own the place. You don't qualify, Peter. You do not qualify. Get off the air, you stupid jackass.
End of message.
6 minutes after the hour, here's Dr. Jerry Quarry on the Social Security number going to court. I've decided to play the calls and read the emails, Jerry, that come in and nothing is valid. It's just like you're a racist for asking questions. Fair enough?
Yes, and also, if that's the level of supporter that Barack Obama has left, he's in desperate trouble.
Well,
I mean, that maybe ought to be the first, maybe that ought to be played on the air during the 2012 presidential campaign to show America the quality of Obama's supporters.
I mean, I took it differently than that. I took it as, whatever you do, don't try and unravel or solve the mystery of Barack Obama.
Well, that's also true. I mean, clearly, it's another way of looking at it is that you're hitting a nerve because Barack Obama's supporters, instead of answering the questions, are coming unglued and revealing that all they've got at the base is to call you names and ad hominem.
I watched OReilly on his Monday night show call people crazies. We watched Baghdad Bob Gibbs call people irrational because they want to know the truth. I watched Dave Gregory go crazy, saying no one should even be allowed to ask the question. I watched Chris Matthews, and they all just seem they won't have a rational conversation.
Well,
they just get nuts.
Neil Abercrombie, I think, made the best point in Hawaii. You know, he's Barack Obama's friend and trying to find the birth certificate, which he could not do, evidently, because he's not produced it.
I agree.
Or even discuss that it exists.
And I think what happened with that Mike Evans guy is I think that they know each other like you and I know one another.
They talked.
Sure, he told him.
They can't find the birth certificate.
No, he told him that.
Abercrombie made the point that this is going to be an issue that will hurt Barack Obama desperately in the 2012 election.
Sure.
It may keep him from running from office because instead of answering the questions, Barack Obama is taking the Richard Nixon approach, and he's just ridiculing anybody who dares ask the question.
Yeah, and I personally believe, and we're the ones that pointed out that Mike Evans, who then he claimed only said it on one radio station, we couldn't find a radio station he didn't say it on.
Yes, well, in fact, we've got at least now 3 at WorldNet Daily.
More than that.
Playing on more than 3.
More than that.
You know, and we've played it where he said that he clearly, and I talked to the governor,
sure.
so he completely,
Yeah.
Was clearly told to get off this.
Absolutely.
Because he was doing so much damage. Well, look, my book, Where's the Birth Certificate, is coming out in May 17th. So you can take a look at it now. It's in pre-sales on Amazon. It's up on BarnesandNoble.com.
Send me a copy, Jerry.
As soon as it's available.
Okay,
It's in copy editing right now, WorldNet Daily Superstore. I'm going to take enormous abuse for this.
Oh.
And that's, but at the same point, as long as we got a First Amendment, my job is not to, as an investigative reporter, to be anybody's best friend.
No, of course not. They're not supposed to like you.
Look, the Social Security number Barack Obama is using is, again, part of the cover-up. He's using his Social Security number that was issued in Connecticut. Barack Obama's father, by the way, did not attend Yale.
Went to Harvard.
He attended Harvard. Secondly, he was gone back to Africa. This Social Security number was issued between 76 and 77. Barack Obama Sr. was at Harvard in 62 to about.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I was trying to explain that earlier.
And so the father did not apply for the son to get the Social Security number. That's a pretty lame argument. It would only be made by someone who had not taken the time to do the research
or to read it.
So it was obviously not the case.
So here, once again, comes OReilly Tates. We'll try and talk to her tomorrow. Right. She's been a firebrand on all this. She's been yelled at. Judges have fined her. She's been tossed a bunch of different times, but she keeps coming back.
She keeps coming at it, and we admire tremendously what she's doing. And I think it's again in another era. This is what the Sam Adamses did, who were the king called them all kinds of names in the American Revolution too, and threatened to hang them all. Didn't deter Sam Adams or John Hancock or Thomas Jefferson or any of the others, Thomas Paine, from stating the truth. And again, whether it was popular or unpopular among those who didn't want to hear the truth, there were a lot of supporters of King George III at that time. And, Barack Obama's supporters, if all they can do is scream that you're a racist because you ask a question that is not a race-based question, his Social Security number being a possibly stolen or identity theft Social Security number is not a race-based question. I'm sorry.
And it's all part of this collage, if you would, of the mystery. I mean, the Barack Obama mystery of who Barack Obama isn't just hung on the SSN, or it isn't just hung on his birth certificate. It's hung on a number of suppressed, protected, what other words? I mean, here's a guy that's lived for almost 50 years without leaving footprints. There's no Obama documentation. There's no bona fides, no paper trail. There's nothing. And so here comes this SSN number, which someone said may possibly belong to someone born in 1890.
Right, it was issued to someone who was born in 1890.
They're pretty. That's pretty. When Social Security began in the 30s with FDR.
In the 1970s, and OReilly Tates makes this point in her deposition. There is, and her complaint rather to the court. There was a period of time there where people, especially women, were very late in their lives applying for Social Security benefits. That mostly women, housewives who had never worked before. They applied to obtain Social Security benefits when they were elderly. And in the 76 through 77 period, it was quite possible that somebody who was born in 1890, who would have been in their 80s, got a Social Security number for the first time. Now, that when that person dies, which almost certainly they're going to do pretty soon after getting a Social Security number at that age, it becomes a good card for identity theft, because unless the person had death benefits through Social Security may have a record of the card being issued, but not the death of the person, and it doesn't show up in the system when you search the number to identify whose number that was. So it becomes really a very ideal number for identity theft. Now, I know Barack Obama is using the number, and it was issued in Connecticut because the first three digits fall within the range of digits.
Mm-hmm.
The first three digits of most Social Security numbers, in fact, all issued since since they standardized them, I believe in the 70s, early 70s, like 72, they issued, Social Security numbers are really all issued out of Baltimore right now.
And they will begin to randomize, right?
And I think that's, again, part of the cover-up because they don't want in the future any presidential candidate ever tracked down as to where their Social Security number
so
was.
So what Dr. Corsi's talking about, what I read last night, is the SSN administration is going to randomize all future Social Security numbers beginning, I guess, June of this year?
June of this year. And so, Barack Obama's Social Security number we know is his because when you put that Social Security number into the Selective Service records, it comes out as Barack Obama's.
Mm-hmm.
It identifies with the Social Security number that Barack Obama has, too. Now, private investigators have done this research, and they have very powerful databases, and we have affidavits from two of the private investigators, both of whom suspect this is identity theft. Barack Obama had his first job in an ice cream
Jerry,
shop.
let me do this. I'm right at my traffic break. Can I hold you?
Sure.
Dr. Jerry Quarry is with us. It's Wednesday. The Obama SSN number is going to go to court, hopefully. 6:30 KHLB. Help you get to work. Traffic time. Here's Susan. 19 after the hour, 7:19. Dr. Jerry Quarry is with us on the SSN. And we got this phone call that we played 3-4 times this morning on the show, calling us a bunch of racists for asking questions. Throwing rocks at my dog. I don't have a dog, but my cat. I feel like FDR. Franklin Roosevelt had a little dog named Fala, and there was a rumor spread by the Republicans that he had taken Fala, I think, to Yalta, or maybe to, I don't know, but I think it was Yalta. Maybe it was before that, but that he had left the dog behind, and so he sent a U.S. Navy destroyer to get the dog. And of course, it was not a true story, but he said they attacked my little dog, Fala, too. They're attacking my cat. That's right. You say what you want to say about me, but you can't hit on Blanket the cat. Blanket the cat's an innocent bystander. Trice Jewelry has moved to the new superstore, South University, streets of South Glen, located 6885 South University, just south of Arapahoe Road. Now, this is a wonderful place, and of course, Monday's the big day, Valentine's Day. Trice has moved this new superstore. They have the best in bridal and engagement rings of all sorts, and they have you name it, they can claim it. No other store has more certified diamonds, shapes and cuts, diamond earrings, Swiss watches. Grand opening is, of course, started right around the holidays and come by now. Great sales with super specials on diamond earrings and pearls and engagement rings and watches, bracelets, whatever you are looking for in terms of a very romantic, very cool gift. They have the bracelets. They have stuff, pendants and things on mother-in-law stuff or mom stuff or grandma stuff, and things for your mom if she's the grandma. And the romantic dinner can be really completed with these flowers. And they take these roses, and they dip them in gold, and then they put. I've done this, and there's bright colored enamel on the petals, and it lasts forever. They got just everything you want. It's an amazing place for Valentine's. Think diamonds, think jewelry. Think Valentine's, think Trice, Ralph and Justin and the Love Goddess, Susie, 6885 South University, just south of Arapahoe Road. Now, this is what the president, my eyes bugged out when he did this one, and we called all the investigators, and we apparently were the first guys to see this. This was the president at the prayer breakfast. Now, remember, I was told he still had contact with his father. No, he didn't, but this is how the president spoke.
Some of you know, I did not come from a particularly religious family. My father, who I barely knew, I only met once for a month in my entire life.
All right. Now, Dr. Jerry Quarry is with us. How Barack Obama's Social Security number doesn't jive, and people want to take it to court. My best guess, given that it's Tate's again, that the court's going to throw this out. But it does advance the story, doesn't it?
It does, Peter. And again, even if the court throws it out, we've got one more instance where the courts have been pressed. You never know. Every time the courts are asked, things change, and one court may hear a case. I still think the courts are not the solution to. Courts don't like to enter into political decisions, even the 2000 Supreme Court decision that decided the presidential election for George W. Bush remains very controversial, as an example. I think the states passing laws which are going to require the presidential candidates in 2012 and thereafter show birth credentials to get on the state ballot for that presidential year, those are going to be meaningful, and those may even be the reason Barack Obama chooses not to run for president again, not to run for re-election.
No. Let me read you an email, and this is Pete. Can you and Corsi explain why in the world Obama would have to steal an SS number in 1977? His mother or grandmother or any other family member could not be able to order one for him? ? There must be a good reason, and I'm sure you two intellectual giants will explain it, but I'm at a loss. I'm pretty sure you will have some conspiracy theory or say it's Roswellian. I got one at the same time, and I don't think it's a real problem. Well, to our emailer, what state did you live in, and what did your SS number begin with? That's the first thing you would ask yourself. And if your number jives with where you live, the one you use, where you applied for your SSN or where you were born, you have your own explanation for your number. But how do you explain this, and what about us as two intellectual giants? Jerry, can you explain this?
Well, first of all, usually in cases of identity theft, it's up to the person who is using the fraudulent identity information, to explain why they did it. There's millions of reasons why people do it. They don't want their background to be known. There's something they're hiding. In 1977-76, Barack Obama was not thinking about being president. He was just barely, and he was just transitioning into college. And who knows what he was going through in those years. He's already admitted that he was smoking marijuana and doing cocaine.
I did too. I mean, I'd never hid that about me either. So,
and who knows what his motivations were? But the point is that identity theft begins with establishing that the identity theft has occurred. And right now, that's where not why, but that it has occurred. Right now, this Barack Obama is using a Social Security number issued to someone in Connecticut when he never lived in Connecticut.
Exactly.
In those years, he even was in Connecticut, according to the public record. That demands explanation.
What about...
by comparison, if this were George W. Bush,
my God,
I assure you this would be in big-type headlines every day.
I agree.
Pressed by the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, all the major television networks until it was answered.
What about this, again, using the term Roswellian, which applies to you don't know what happened, so anything goes, that his mom, or grandma rather, Madelyn Dunham, was a volunteer, and this is provable, at the Oahu Circuit Court Probate Department. And the researchers claimed she had access to SS numbers of deceased people. Now, I like what part of what the emailer said is what number did he, when he was at Baskin Robbins, and that's a corporation, I don't think they paid him under the table. There had to be paychecks. Did they start taking out SS out of that?
I can't find any record of what Barack Obama used in that Baskin Robbins ice cream shop in Hawaii. But for someone who is a resident of Hawaii, what would make sense is they would have a Hawaii security number.
Absolutely.
Most of these things are plain and simple by Barack Obama. It's just like he says he was born, Barack Obama says he was born in Kapiolani Hospital in Hawaii. I'm happy to believe that.
Yeah.
But why is it that we have to be excoriated for asking to see the long-form hospital-generated birth certificate?
I think
for most Americans, that's an easy thing to produce, and they're asked all the time.
Well, as I said, I made a list. Go to my notes here. I made a list of, and I think it's almost accurate. But when it comes to those certifications of live birth, most people, most investigators believe it's counterfeited.
Right.
That the rest of the stuff, is craziness. Cashill got his hands on that Obama-Dunham alleged divorce papers, which, of course, I don't know how you can get divorced if you've never been married, but the front page has been suppressed.
Well, and also there's one missing page in that document that, again, could have been the adoption papers in Indonesia. Again,
see, it's Roswellian. You can answer however you want to answer.
Well, the point is this, that, you've got someone, Barack Obama has, all his whole life, it seems, shrouded in mystery. You're going to have another book coming out here by Jack Cashill, Deconstructing Obama.
Yeah, I read it. It's very good.
Which I think there's a very convincing argument made that Bill Ayers wrote most, if not all, of Dreams from My Father. Even Michelle Obama has indicated the same. Barack Obama was not able to write that book. Barack Obama's second book, Audacity Hope, looks like it was pasted together from various campaign speeches by his Senate staff or certainly his aides. It doesn't look like it was. It's not a typically. It's a policy book rather than a really detailed written book. I write books. I know exactly what's involved in writing a book. Barack Obama has not authored anything else in his life, and Bill Ayers, the correspondence between Dreams from My Father and things that Bill Ayers has written is astounding. So, again, every aspect of Barack Obama's life. We don't have his passport record. He will not answer questions about why he went to Pakistan right after Occidental College. He won't answer whether he ever was adopted into Indonesia. We don't have his school records. We don't have his law records. He won't tell us what clients he worked for and how many hours he billed. You ask Barack Obama to get you his calendar when he was a state senator. He says he didn't keep one or it was otherwise lost. And everything you want to know about Barack Obama, you cannot get, and you're excoriated for asking to see. Now, when the vetting occurs again in the 2012 presidential election, these questions are going to get kept being pressed until they're answered. And, when my book comes out, Where's the Birth Certificate, there's more information coming out in that book and the research I've done. And, I continue to find discrepancies in the birth story. One of the most obvious is Barack Obama always told the story that his mother stayed in Hawaii until his father left to go to Harvard in 1962 after the baby was born in August 61. The truth is the mother left 3 weeks after the baby was born, went to Washington State, Seattle, to attend the University of Washington. She took infant Obama with her. I've got the school records. I've talked and interviewed the school. I've interviewed the neighbors. I've interviewed the babysitter. I've got photographs of the place where she had her apartment. And she never returned to Hawaii until after Barack Obama left. Now, why is that important? It's important for a couple reasons. One is whenever you're an investigative reporter, the first thing you do is look for a lie. Once you found a lie in, say, a nativity story, then the whole nativity story is suspect.
What's the great lie on one, right?
Right, exactly. And, it's classic police investigation.
Let me do this, Doctor. I need to take one more break for traffic, and I have an email that I want you to respond to. Hang on a second. Dr. Jerry Corsi is with us. The SSN number issue goes to court, 7:30 on 6:30. Traffic time. Here's Susan.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide. The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
It is 7:36, 24 before the hour. Dr. Jerry Corsi again with us. And we're talking about the Social Security court challenge on the president. Let me read you an email, Jerry. And again, you got to pay attention because this has already happened. But I think the man's point, meaning your point, if it were George Bush, is false. We'll take this in two parts. Wasn't John McCain born outside of America? And I didn't hear anyone asking to see his birth certificate. First of all, that's nonsense. He was born in Panama.
Are uninformed.
Yeah, go ahead, take that first part.
Well, it's ridiculous. The Washington Post, New York Times, the major television networks all literally pounded John McCain on his birth circumstances, having been born in the Panama Canal. They wouldn't let up early in the campaign. John McCain finally presented his birth credentials to Congress, and Congress passed a resolution, House and Senate, that he was a natural-born citizen.
Right.
Because he was, first of all, the logic of the resolution was that the founders never meant to exclude as natural-born citizens.
Indeed.
A person born to two U.S. citizens who were out of the country because they were serving the U.S. military.
Right.
And furthermore, John McCain, by all evidence, was born on the military base, on the Navy base.
Yeah, right. Even if you're
an extension of U.S. territory.
If your parents are in the diplomatic corps and you're in Tokyo,
same kind of application.
You're an American.
Logic.
You're a U.S. citizen.
But the point is that Barack Obama refused to submit to a similar congressional investigation of his birth credentials. And your caller, while they're long on abuse and ad hominem attacks, are short on research and information.
Let me give you the second part of the email. I think people who call this racist should not be dismissed, do not dismiss the argument, but because when is the last time another president has been asked to show his papers? Well, George Bush. Has anyone looked at any other president's childhood records, schools, etc.? Are they sealed as well? Of course not, but go ahead.
Well, this has been an issue it was an issue for Charles Arthur. He was one of the presidents who was
Chester Arthur
came up. It's going to be an issue in other candidates. It's been a major topic of discussion for Arnold Schwarzenegger, who, of course, was born in Austria and is not a natural-born citizen under any terms of the. People try under the 14th Amendment to extend natural-born citizen to almost anyone, including naturalized citizens. A naturalized citizen, and even Robert Gibbs at the White House and others say, well, Barack Obama is a citizen. The issue is not whether he's a citizen. It's whether he's a natural-born citizen, which is a more narrow classification and subset of being a citizen. And the strictest definition would be a person born on U.S. soil, the continental United States or Hawaii or Alaska, with two U.S. parents. And there are many issues about Barack Obama's citizenship that bear investigation under this criteria of Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution. The fact that he was a dual citizen at birth and may have become a citizen of Indonesia when he was there as a child.
And everyone probed W and the Air Force and that kind of stuff, so that's nonsense. And all those guys released everything. All right, now this is the guy says, great answer. That explains why his grandmother or mother or a 15 or 16-year-old boy needed to steal a Social Security number at 77. It's part of your great conspiracy. They started planning at Obama's birth when a newspaper reports of his birth. What a brilliant conspiracy they pulled off to make this illegal, could be president of the United States. They didn't do any of that knowing that this man was going to be president.
That's another patently ridiculous straw man argument that he's defeating. Yeah. Look, the birth announcements, first of all, there's value to being a citizen, whether or not one wants to become president or not. Just to be a U.S. citizen has intrinsic value.
Schwarzenegger.
The address filed in that birth record, the two newspaper announcements, is the address of the grandparents.
Yeah, it's a lie.
Even today, Hawaii law allows members of the family to come in and present affidavits or other testimony, say the baby was born in Hawaii, when the baby was not, and the baby yet gets a Hawaii short form birth certificate. And if there are long-form hospital-generated birth records for Barack Obama, which there should be, since evidently he claims he's born at Kapiolani Hospital, why can't we see them? Why do they have to be national security documents, and why do these people have to go to such extremes to explain the unreasonable? That is, Barack Obama himself said it. People who won't show documents, people who lie, are hiding something.
One more, and it's a busy morning. Peter, ask Dr. Corsi if he or any other investigators of Obama's past have contacted Obama's traveling companions. There were two when he visited Pakistan. That person should be able to shed light on the passport, etc.
I've tried to get in touch with both. Both refused to take any requests from reporters. Yeah. Their offices won't even pass the request forward any longer. I've tried repeatedly to contact them.
Well, here we go again. Dr. Corsi, as always, you co-host the show and you make it happen. Thank you, sir.
Peter, always a great honor and pleasure to be with you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Jerry Corsi. Now, the SSN number goes to Corsi.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.